Bob Vila is back. So there's going to be that the whole time. I thought I would freak everybody the fuck out by starting exactly at showtime. Apologies to the people who know to show up 10 minutes late. All right. We'll give everyone a minute to get here. I'm so fucking thirsty. Like, I'm thirsty and I'm like dehydrated and I need more water, but if I drink it, I'll throw it up. So I guess my nose is just red on default for some reason today. I hope you guys have questions. Everybody just got kicked off, I guess. All right. Da-dun, da-dun. I don't have a fucking plan. So I figured we could do a Q&A. I know a lot of times, it's like 100 questions in the Q&A. So you can ask questions and I'll answer them as long as they're not about things I don't talk about. And then if you want to ask some quick questions, I'll pull a couple cards for some people. Didn't get to record the Lacey episode today. Is this sound all right? Thank you for all the congratulations. I will absorb them in 5 weeks. This is so funny that this is how this fucking Saturn transit closed it out. Can you hear that? Do I need to turn the mic up on that? The thing that's funny is that he's been out in the garage cutting wood all day for this project. And like immediately when I went to start this, he started screwing it into the wall. It is hilarious. Anyway, I have this Saturn transit that I haven't shut the fuck up about this year, where Saturn has rolled over top of my Mars and Mercury, which are two things that I super identify with. Those are two, they're both in Aquarius. I believed that I was an Aquarius for a really long time because I'm right. I'm 0 degrees Pisces and I have so many Aquarian traits. And, I think those are due to that Mars and Mercury. And I have had Saturn just rolling over top of them like a real asshole all year. And the first time it was Lyme disease. The second time it was herxing from recovering from Lyme disease from the treatment. And it's been gone, like I got rid of it to where my doctor doesn't even think she thinks there's a chance I didn't have chronic Lyme, that it was just it was a very long acute infection, which is very good news. Because we got it so thoroughly and completely, which was very exciting. And so I was like, what could possibly be the third pass? I hope it doesn't come back. I did have a co-infection I was starting to treat, but it was never that bad. And it's like, oh, of course it's morning sickness. Now I want to go look at all the other times I got my ass kicked by morning sickness and see if I was having some sort of Saturn square. All right. Anyway, enough of my blabbing. Abigail said, why can I only remember the question I've been wanting to ask you for another time? But yeah, it happens to me all the time. Yeah, I have to keep notes. You got to keep everything in the note. in the note app on your phone. The problem, I do that, and then I can't remember what the fuck I named the note. All right. It's going to be glasses today, I think. Everything's real slow. It's real slow around here. Real slow to get deodorant on. Days slow on brushing these teeth. Like, I hope that the bacteria that hasn't been washed out of my mouth in 3 days doesn't hurt the unborn. But yeah, everything's real slow motion. Beth said, I'd love a card pulled for navigating a very challenging situation unfolding as we speak. Thank you and congratulations for absorption in 5 weeks. Noted. It's for Beth. Well, we'll see. Let's try this one for Beth, and we'll see if I can do cards, because sometimes I try not to need validation, you know? I try not to do that, but I definitely, for the last 2 weeks, have been watching very close to see if people are like, this reading resonated with me, because my relationship with my intuition historically, like with Phoenix, I lost all magic. With Lily, I was channeling a dead person the whole fucking pregnancy, and I didn't lose my magic until postpartum. But the first thing I thought was like, I'm not sure that I'm prepared to lose access to that specific thing that I do professionally right now. But it seems all right. The channel seems very open when I'm doing the thing. Okay. Chesha, my due date is July 10th, I think. Maybe July 13th. Depends on if you're going by, you know, the period, which mine are very short, or the day that I know, the actual day, because I went, well, hold on, let me check the calendar. I'm sure it's fine. Hold on, let me check the calendar. Okay, well, I'm ovulating. Do you guys know the story of me trying to not have my last kid? If you've seen me do stand-up, you might have heard this story. Okay, so I'll just nervously shuffle cards while I tell the story. So of my 3 children, now almost 4, I only planned one of them. I planned Phoenix. And it took me months to get pregnant with Phoenix. Nicole was irresponsible teenage sex for like 8 months or something. And before I got pregnant. Lilith was conceived on a very just like freak. We weren't super into each other like that husband and I. It was more like a business relationship. So it was some freak afternoon sex, just like we weren't like that. Like that wasn't our connection. And whatever happened, like the condom ended up like across the room somehow. It wasn't across the room, it was across the bed. So I went to make the bed and found the condom, and it was like, oh my God. And so I panicked. And I ran into the bedroom or bathroom. I kicked open the door, and then I don't know why I thought this made sense, but I turned the water on in the shower, you know, the faucet, and I was just trying to like tsunami them out, which is that's not how that works. That's not how you get something out, you know, that's how you push it further in. And so, you know, I panicked, and I'm a fucking 13-year-old. And so then I look at the calendar, and it's the ovulation day on my phone. So I run and get Plan B. This is a good PSA. This is good information for y'all to have. Okay, so Plan B all plan B is progesterone, which is a hormone that if you haven't ovulated, it'll fuck your body up for a second so you don't ovulate. If you have ovulated and there's sperm in the picture, fertility treatments include progesterone, because if you have ovulated, progesterone will just make you super fucking pregnant. So who knows if I would have actually ended up pregnant with Lily if I hadn't like jammed the sperm in there further with, you know, a tsunami. I'm gonna try not to quote my own. Stand up. Or, you know, took a fucking fertility treatment. But yeah, so that's the story of Lily. This one, similar thing, except for, you know, far more it is that kind of party, you know what I mean? But I just like literally was like, it'll be fine. I'm 44, it'll be fine. Don't worry about it. I didn't even think about it. I completely forgot about it. Until I was like, it feels like 200 years since I got my period. And then I looked it up and was like, well. And then when I took a test, I was just in the bathroom like, fuck. And he heard me from the closet and was like, can't be. Yeah. So. It's a portal. It's a portal. It's going to be a fucking tired portal after 4 of them, man. All right. So Beth, let me stop with whatever that was. Dude, and her personality is exactly the personality of someone who would just eat your plan B in the womb. You know what I mean? Oh, was this for me? Thank you. Nice try. We have a soul contract. You think you're going to go on tour? Here I come. We had a deal, which I was absolutely trying to back out of. I absolutely knew that there was 2 kids and then another one in a queue. And I absolutely was like, no, I don't think I will ever do pregnancy again. Thanks. No, thanks. I would have 10 kids if a stork dropped them off. The motherhood part's easy peasy for me. It's the what happens. Portal well traveled. That's a very nice way. I was trying to think of a nice way to put it. The last kid just kind of fell out. Just kind of almost bounced on the floor. And I was like, well, she's really small. You know, she was 9 pounds. They were like, no, that's a pretty big kid. And I'm like, no, but I mean, she's petite. All right. Here it comes. Here comes the pregnancy shit talk. Beth. Oh, damn. All right. Well, the overall energy is it's you figuring out what the fuck you want. I have a feeling that this is maybe not. There's a chance you don't know that this whole thing is coming from you. Not like you're causing it, or how do I want to rephrase that. This is a mission realignment for you. Your core energy is the Ace of Cups in reverse for me. That is some sort of self-worth siphon, some sort of leak. Okay. Your conflict is the 2 of Wands, and your immediate your physical environment right now is a 3 of Wands. So this is interesting. For me, the 2 of Wands is about wanting to jump a timeline, but see how it's like tied right there? It's like, oh, it's like, oh, I would do something different if it was all, if I could be guaranteed it would be easy. It's wanting to control the outcome, control people's opinion of it, control people's perception of you. It's a control thing, right? This one, on the other hand, is you overcome whatever this is. And now you're here, standing here at the beginning of your new life. I'm not going to get too far into the rest of these. This is you ultimately, you being unburdened from something. And I think ultimately you head towards what you want. But that process is not going to be fun. And it's going to require you to get very vulnerable. This is so intimate to do readings for people in front of other people. Okay, hold on. You got some extra stuff. Challenging person in a situation is Pisces. And you're a Scorpio. I wouldn't be surprised if challenging person and you... I wouldn't be surprised if you realize I keep wanting to say that this person isn't going to be in your life anymore, but then I feel like a pushback from your energy about that. So I'm like, wait, are we talking about like one of your minor kids or something? But I don't know if that's just a pushback because we all tend to think we can't get out of our... Yeah, so heaven sent. This is happening for you, not to you, I guess is what I want to say. And for some reason, I want to back off. But assuming this isn't a child under 18, play with the idea of the credits rolling, at least temporarily, in this dynamic. Something in your energy doesn't like me saying that, but just explore that. At the very minimum, a complete restructuring of what this is. I don't know if this is like a partner or something. All right. For me, all of these things like manifestation and victim mentality and all of these things, they become infinitely more easy when we stop trying to be done with things once and for all. Where we allow ourselves to be someone who slips into victim mentality and move back out of it, when it makes sense. When we've I feel like we've been in victim mentality for 13,000 years. And, most of us have been awake for a few. And then we just want to be like, no more lack mentality, no more, I'm making myself dizzy. No more codependency, no more and it's like, I would say all of those things show up on a daily basis for most of us. And I think expecting or desiring to not have that experience anymore creates this kind of like pendulum of feeling like we're a failure. Whereas I catch myself getting in my little baby victim feelings, probably a couple times a week. And for me, the most helpful thing has been when I catch it to acknowledge it. And a lot of times my immediate reaction to criticism will be victimy. Um, I don't really I have a friend who shit happens to all the fucking time. And it really gets under her skin, and almost like the vibe when it happens is like she's not saying this, but what it feels like she's saying is, "See, things don't work for me," or "See, things aren't good." And I don't relate to that. I think 9 times out of 10 when things happen to me, I don't even fully register it, you know? My life philosophy is that life is these good things or bad things. It's things that suck and things that are great, and that you feel one, and you know what I mean? The one enhances the other. And so I can usually sit in a pretty big pile of, circumstantial shit and be victimy in that I'm like, I'm uncomfortable. I don't like this. This sucks. I would say I'm a little bit whiny and stuff right now, but my overall philosophy doesn't change when shit's tough. I sat here extraordinarily sick. I'd like to talk to Lacey about this, actually. I'm gonna tell her business, but we had Lyme at the same time. And I feel like she went through the stages of grief and I really didn't. And that could be because I have kind of an unbalanced refusal to say that I'm mad or feeling bad about things. Maybe I'm a little bit toxically positive. I don't think so, but when I did psychedelics shortly before going into recovery, the whole psychedelic trip was me just like admitting that I was mad and that this wasn't fair and that I didn't want to do this anymore. And I was pissed off and I was mad at everybody who didn't take care of me and everything else. So I was obviously jamming something down. But for the most part, when it was happening, I just like, my life philosophy is that life's not always easy and it's not always fun. And you can get your way out of anything if you just accept that it's happening. And so, I feel like life has been challenging me more the more I try and let go. Just going to nudge here a little bit, is victimy, right? I'm sure you know that, right? So, like, I'm going to practice non-attachment. I want to be rewarded for that. And if I'm not rewarded, then, it still comes from a little bit of a belief that things are happening to you rather than just things are happening. And so it's just something where like shit hits the fan and every time you get a little bit better at not caring. Because I say, as someone who withstood, being sick for over a year, was like for a long time not thinking I was ever going to get out of it. As someone who is having hysterical panic attacks over $6,000 in debt, being $6,000 in debt in 2011. I get a parking ticket and I would be out of my mind for the rest of the day. So it just comes from life experience and then realizing, did you die? Was it the end of the world? What were the last 5 things that happened to you? Do you even remember them? And you kind of start to realize how small it all is. All right. Well, this should take us 9 hours at this rate. All right. I got my validation. It is very vulnerable to do readings for people without them there. I have a lot of feelings about it. In the conversations that I've had with Kelsey and other astrologers, I think this Taurus energy is going to be the energy that makes us all. I'm telling you guys, this feels extremely challenging to me, not to be a broken record, but learn how to center yourself, learn how to stop and smell the roses, find things that you like, if you have connections in your life, learn how to appreciate them, throw these fucking things in the garbage disposal once this energy hits the planet, because it's going to be two completely different worlds. I mean, it feels very split, but we've been talking about the split for so long. It's like, who gives a shit? But so I don't know that much about official astrology, whatever. But all I'm getting is a lot of themes of life and death. And I don't know if that's physical or it's probably both, But yeah, this Taurus energy, which I'm not very familiar with in general, is just this. And we don't know how to do it. I mean, it sounds like the stupidest, most basic shit, but like, how many of you feel like you know how to live in the moment? How many of you feel like you know how to have fun without chaos or, I mean, we've now been like so collectively traumatized for so many years in a row that like, it's actually legitimately difficult to just be in peace. So, is it a fertile thing? Fucking figures. Oh, that's a rough one. What are we doing? What deck are we doing? I feel so bad for children of narcissists, man. I did like legit narcissists, not just like, a lot of us have, a narcissistic trauma response, which I think is different, but, parents who actually feed on the energy of their children and stuff. My daughter was engaged to somebody whose mother was like that, who I lit that bitch up once or twice, but the kids, man, I just feel so fucking bad for the kids, because it's like, oh, I want you to be not this. I want to have a mother. I want to have a father, These cards are pretty positive, actually. I'm trying not to bring my own judgment into this. Okay. His core energy is nostalgia. I think this is going to be a cycle for a bit. This is initially going to seem pretty positive, I think. And I want to say that might be triggering for you. Maybe not, but that's not in the cards. But what is showing up in the cards is that this initially seems very positive and happy. Which is just kind of the thing, right? It's just kind of how this specific archetype behaves. Okay, so what about after a year? Oh, what about after a year and a half? Okay. This is a cycle. I wouldn't tell your son that. I would support your son. You said son, right? As much as possible for where he's at. A lot of the ways that this stuff was showing up was like, it's about him figuring himself out, kind of like what's me, what's dad, what's ours, you know? And I keep on saying there's about 3 cycles of that before the final outcome was the Ace of Swords in reverse. And so that is my like inability to set boundaries card. So I would say that's when it starts to crack. So I would say they go into a honeymoon phase, which your son is probably going to take as something more positive than it is. And I would say for you, just wherever he's at, wherever he's at. I mean, I'm assuming you had to learn your lesson with this person. And it can be hard to not want to then save him, from having to do that himself. But ultimately, this looks like from a soul perspective, this is their dance. And, it's a mirror for his growth. So I would say as far as helping him do that, just love him exactly where he's at and like try not to guide his experience too much, which can be tough if you know they're going to get hurt. All right, we're just talking about how big my portal is. You're welcome. Yeah, it can be hard, man. It can be hard I think that came up in the reading, was trying to let people that you care about make their own mistakes. And I think that that's going to be, it's not a mistake for your son. It's very important to his growth. It's almost like he internalizes certain things that are his dad's. And so he almost has to go back and see that over and over again. It's tough when your parent's abusive. It takes so long to realize that this stuff's not yours. My mom was pretty abusive when I was a kid, and I'm, fucking 45 working on people pleasing. All right. Yeah. So my first was 10.4. No, sorry. My first was 10 pounds, 2 ounces. The second was 10 pounds, 4 ounces. And then Lily was 9 pounds, 2 ounces and like slid down my leg. Okay. Did you say what for? Oh, sorry. Well, I missed a bunch of shit up here. How did that happen? Thanks for the validation. Sorry, I missed a bunch of these up here. I feel like my trauma work is triggering my partner because I'm not reacting to him in the same way anymore. When he's escalating, I'm not. Yeah. I mean, that's how it works. If you've engaged, that's why it's so much easier to like start a new relationship with good habits rather than, and I really saw this in myself in that twin flame relationship. There's a dance, there's a brain chemical dump from fighting in relationships, and once you let the relationship go there, if one of you starts to heal and doesn't, why am I just now seeing all these fucking, sorry, ADD. Yeah. So I think time, like continuing to not engage, but it's also probably worthwhile to have a conversation when they are not escalated about, I don't want to participate in that anymore. So let's, when we're not in a fight or whatever, let's discuss. I feel like I'm gonna breathe in 10 minutes. Let's discuss how to work through that. But it's absolutely triggering if you used to participate in that kind of conflict that you're not participating anymore. All right. I don't know what's going on with these comments, why they're like weird and out of order. So weird. Okay. Yeah. So I am going to read the questions from the, sorry, you guys are going to wish I was talking about the tick again by the time this pregnancy's over, but my body's like allergic to being pregnant. My teeth hurt. I don't fucking have teeth, but my teeth hurt. I guess that happens during reading sometimes or during live streams. So if you don't mind me reading part of your question from the Patreon thing. Lost your virginity at 12, almost 13 to a boy I thought I would be with forever. Then I had a boyfriend at 15. I took his virginity and I felt like he was the one. Since that relationship ended, after a year, I wasn't with anyone until meeting my husband at 20. Okay, so you referenced the pile 5 in yesterday's reading, feeling like really guilty about something from childhood. Were you raised religious? Indoctrinated? Because I think it's pretty common if you were deeply enmeshed in that, that belief system that having sex with someone before marriage or that you weren't going to spend the rest of your life with somehow makes you bad. I have reoccurring dreams and thoughts about both my first loves way too often to be healthy. I thought that this was because after many years of marriage, I missed the feeling of that manic love. But after your pile 5, I started wondering if it's because I've been harboring feelings of being a bad person to begin having sex that young. So I keep playing it out over and over, like picking a scab. My daughter just turned 13 and is nowhere near ready or even thinking about having sex. She's still a child at heart and mind as she should be. Am I mourning my childhood, but it feels like I am mourning those relationships instead? Whatever it is I'm doing, how do I move past it all? I'd actually really like to see the numbers on like what age kids are having sex at, like across the board. I guess that would be hard to tell, but I just feel like we were becoming sexual so much younger in my generation, but I was raised in like poor neighborhoods and with other unsupervised kids, so that's maybe not. I just feel like the combination of like more conscious parenting and the fact that the kids are trapped in their phones has really kind of shifted that, but I keep hearing you're not looping is what I'm hearing. Oh, that makes me want to cry. It's the sensation of having been robbed. Almost like you wouldn't have given these things to someone that you that wasn't going to be there 20 years later. Which isn't very realistic, but I mean, like, how realistic are we at 12 or 13? So when you say, like, you thought we would be together forever, like, you really truly believed that. And there is a part of you that didn't get over that, like, that loss. And so there's still just kind of a program running, almost like, I have to get that back. I have to get that back. I have to get that back. Like, you let somebody in your house and they robbed you. And not to say that's how those relationships turned out, but that's the revisiting of it. It's this kind of like loop to try to get things back. I think it might be different now, but I think historically, especially in young people having sex, it can very easily be a really uneven energy exchange. With one person, like, losing pieces of their energy, they're actually pretty critical to their energy field, and the other person just kind of taking them. And it's because this is what happens when people who don't understand energy have sex, you know? So what would I say to do about that? Forgive yourself, I think, which was the conclusion of that card reading. I mean, that does feel true. I want to say do some sort of ritual that like forgives your younger self and also calls back your energy. You know, because you can call back everything you've ever lost. So, and I think you should write that ritual. I don't know if you're familiar with doing that, but you know, something very private and intimate where you forgive your younger self for accidentally giving away something that was very important to you, and then call that energy back. Yeah, I mean, now, because, you know, I have a kid entering into the teenage years, and same thing. I just think, like, God, I was pretty sexual by that age, and it's like nowhere on my kid's radar. I'm sure part of that came from getting molested, but I just think our generation was maybe having sex younger than kids are now, but I don't, that's a huge fucking, I think it's also once you become the parent, you're like, what the fuck? But, you know, that's how our parents reacted when they realized we were fucking. It's like, what do you expect? You gave me the keys to the house and fucking didn't come home till 8. All right. Mm-hmm.
Sick.
Good talk. Well, you got, that's my narcissist card. I think it means charity for everyone else, but I mean, it's like holding the power balance and breadcrumbing and above everyone else. So that's my narcissist card. What's happening with the narcissist? Jeez. All right. Well, I don't know, man. These energies aren't great. It's like some energy that has made stuff not fun. Not fun. But then you release it. Because it doesn't feel like it's going to happen. Yeah, advice cards. Trust yourself and releasing allegiances. So my vibe is that the culmination begins something better than what it's been. Hi, Mark. All right. These are really hard to keep track of. I mean, yes. I feel like yes is probably the answer. Not yet, though. What's the timeline? Summer? Between April and summer? $2022, but I don't think you're going to have to seek it. I don't think you're going to be able to find it from seeking it. And for some reason, I'm seeing the hot bar at a health food store. Just extremely specific and probably not accurate. That's a fucking really interesting question. I don't think NPCs and non-NPCs mix like that. I don't think that happens. I don't know if NPCs are actually NPCs or they're just playing a different game. So they're blanked out of our game. For people that don't know what NPC means, it means non-playable character. Yeah, so if you have a kid, it's going to be a soul for sure. Okay. All right. We probably have all the questions in that I'm going to be able to answer because there's questions on the other thing I'm going to have to get into too. All right. Well, fuck. I thought you would never ask. It felt to me before I even really got downloads about this year, it felt to me, I was like, oh shit, something's coming in December, just when I saw that movie's coming out. I think that moving forward into higher dimensional reality is going to require a divorce from the Matrix. I think we keep wanting the Matrix to collapse, and I think that that's maybe fantasy. And we rather have to learn how to live as people who can bend spoons and stop bullets and whatever metaphorical shit. We have to learn how to become people who stop opting in. My vibe is that that's what the movie's going to be about. I'm so fucking excited. I already decided that on December 23rd, we are going to have a completely matrixed live stream to geek out on it. I think there's going to be tons of syncs in there for us. Mark just started to watch. He hasn't watched The Matrix since he woke up. And every time I watch it, there's just like, there's so much. I mean, they jam pack so much. There's a part at the very beginning where Neo is giving that like disc of hacker shit, I assume, to somebody. The girl has a white rabbit tattooed on her. And he goes, if you get caught with that, and the guy goes, I know, you don't exist. And it's like, fuck. So I'm extremely, extremely stoked about it. Acceptance. I'm not a fan of being grateful for things that suck. It doesn't make any fucking sense. Gratitude can be a bit of an escape hatch. If you can find, things that aren't hurting you to be grateful for, to kind of push out the thing. But it's like, I don't even be grateful for pain. I guess I sometimes am a little bit, but a lot of times I don't know what the fuck the pain was for until I'm on the other side of it. Yeah, I would say acceptance. It just sucks. This sucks and I don't like it, and there's nothing I can do to change it. Level, go into it. And then I don't know how to explain what happens after that, but it often lights up a door to get out of it. But I like your language. What is the way through rather than out? And it almost never goes as fast as we want it to go. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of us are a little bit tired of the anticipatory whatever. I think when you came to the planet anticipating being here for the apocalypse, it can very much feel like, yeah, we always thought this. But I mean, the world is changing a lot, like a lot. Shit's fucking weird. And yeah, a lot of people are feeling anticipation right now. I don't know if that means something physically happens or not. This thing keeps fucking resetting. Okay, well that's a good. Sorry, I'm having a really hard time keeping. It's almost like the order of these is changing. But that's probably just my brain. So I'm going to do the Patreon ones really quick because that reminded me of it. Yeah, like a lot. It seems cliche. It just seems not true or whatever. Like it's too easy or it's too hard. But if you can get to a place where things just are, then the way out becomes obvious. And that's so fucking hard when it hurts or it's scary or it's triggering, you know? It's like the thing P was talking about, making things mundane, you know, making them not matter, not having an emotional attachment to them. Easier said than done. And it's, I can't think of an example in my life where it hasn't worked. I truly can't. But I usually can't immediately master that. I almost always have to spend some time in a contracted state, spend some time fighting, trying to escape. And this is me trying to escape. And then eventually coming to a place of acceptance. And then all of a sudden, it's like all this stuff I've been flailing, and now I just walk back out the door. Yeah. I mean, I think that most kids, by our standards today, were abused as kids. And this might be controversial. I don't think so. Probably not in this group. But I would say the parenting practices when I was raising my 27-year-old, you know, I spanked her. I locked her in a room. I punished her for having feelings. If I treated an adult like that, it would be considered abuse. So, and it definitely had consequences for her, you know, and no offense to anyone who practices any of those parenting. I'm not, you know, that's for you to figure out, for you to decide what's right for you. But my 2 cents on now that I have learned about, the kind of trauma that I see in showing up in people's life as adults. You know, and the stories that I heard about, like when my parents were kids, I mean, Jesus Christ, you know? So I think as a parent, you have to face that, right? I mean, we're all trying to give our kids something that we didn't get as kids. But yeah, I mean, absolutely. It definitely showed up for me in parenting, you know. It showed up for me like, you know, I'm a better parent with each kid as I get older and I heal more things for myself, but everything I didn't like about how I was parented by my mom, you know, I feel like I visited on my oldest. I didn't have space and I didn't know anything else. And so I had to like face, you know, my mom was on drugs. She was pretty fucking abusive when I was a kid. And her mom was, you know, an alcoholic who really was fucking abusive. And so, yeah, if I'm understanding your question, I think it's a huge part of like the healing that we are doing, you know, as not just people who are conscious like aliens, you know. I feel like overall a lot of parents are more conscious as to the consequences of this, how I parent affect this person's entire life, where nobody was talking about that shit when like I had a 27 years ago. Nobody's, I mean, that I know of was talking about that shit. It was like how to make this child the most convenient for this moment, how to make this child obey, how to make this child sleep, how to make this child clean their plate, you know? And I think we've woken up out of a lot of that and realized most of us were abused to some extent. And if not us, then the generations before us for sure. But yeah, ultimately, this is all ancestral work. This is all ancestral work cleaning up lifetimes of unconsciousness. Oh, well, yeah. I mean, yeah, definitely that. Definitely, this is going back to the question about not engaging in your partner's in fights or stuff. If it's that kind of a dynamic where, one person triggers the fuck out of the more emotional one, and then the emotional one freaks out, and then the one who started it gets to go, well, see, look, you're being crazy. It's a manipulative tactic. Yeah. Yeah. So it's going to be a rough transition. Is this what you want? Okay. Yes. Talk about it. There's already this pressure, right? There's already this pressure because you've maybe been pining already for 2 years. And, even if you weren't anxiously attached, that would be a recipe for this. So have these conversations. And my experience as someone with anxious attachment is that I don't, I used to hide it because I want to seem low maintenance so that nobody wants to leave. And that is a disaster. If you have anxious attachment, pretty early in any partnership, you should be extremely honest about that, not when you're triggered, and tell the truth about how that shows up for you. Let them know that, like, for me personally, the anxious attachment goes away if the thing's been established for a minute because I work hard at it, but be very honest. And if you find yourself not wanting to be honest, that's probably coming from a fear that they'll leave. And if they'll leave because you told them you're anxiously attached, they'll eventually leave because you are anxiously attached. So discuss it, discuss how it shows up for you. Be willing to take responsibility. I don't recommend anxiously attached people having relationships with avoidant people because it's going to take a lot of work. And a lot of that work's on your part. So avoidant people need space, just like you need closeness. And you have to be willing to honor their need for space and not villainize them if you want them to honor your need for closeness. So it's very tricky to make that kind of a relationship work. Like, I'll never date another avoidant. Mark's securely attached, but he can become avoidant if somebody, he's had a relationship with someone who is very anxiously attached. And, an anxiously attached person can make anyone avoidant. And a real avoidant person can make anyone anxiously attached. However, most secure people just go, fuck it, So it has to be when things aren't heated, that a conversation between the two of you and a commitment to work through it and developing language and everything else. But people who are on the avoidant side of the spectrum, if the shit hits the fan or gets weird, you have to give them their space before they're going to be able to hold space for you. So get very used to when things feel tense, or if you've had a fight, that you have to give them space before you get to have your closeness. And if that doesn't feel like something you can do, this probably isn't the right kind of fit for you. I really keep trying to get Mark to do an interdependence relationship episode with me, and he is thoroughly disinterested. I don't know. That's a really good question. I've seen a lot of people get really negatively affected by, like, it just makes them agitated, But I think we got one more year and I could be wrong, but I feel like 2022 is kind of the 2022, maybe into a little bit of 2023 is kind of the awakening cutoff. And I don't know if that's really true, but that's kind of what it feels like to me. But it feels like a huge, like, grand finale. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's tough to get through this year without waking up. All right. I'm starting to spin. So Franklin said, if we are shifting and there aren't going to be any jump cuts, doesn't that mean the shifts happening are going to be slow and boring over the next 50 years? God, I haven't said jump cuts in a really long time. Okay, this is what a jump cut means. A jump cut means the scene is going one direction and then it's just something completely nonsensical or something, way in the future. It just means that there has to be a logical scenario. And usually what I'm saying when I say there is no jump cuts is that a lot of times people want to skip the hard part. And so I just want to jump to the place where I'm healed. I just want to jump to the place where relationships are easy. I want to jump from my extraordinary amount of lack programming to complete abundance. And so that's what the jump cut thing means. I guess part of the reason I don't say that stuff anymore is something that really shifted for me in 2021 was I realized how much this entire thing is your own personal experience. And so you might notice I don't talk about what's happening in the world anymore because it literally doesn't matter. What matters is your healing and your changing yourself. It does matter, but we can't externally change things. We can internally change things. So the most effective thing I can do to change the world is help people change their own internal programming. Okay. So there's not just capitalism in the matrix. It's inside of each one of us. And by capitalism, I mean late stage capitalism. Okay. So whatever this corrupted corporate oligarchy shit, I can't do anything about them. I can address my own belief that I'm only worthy if I'm working my ass off, or that I can't be late for anything, or that, whatever. I can't change people outside of myself that I have no access to. I can only change internally. And we really, really underestimate how much impact souls being in the grid, having new programming affects the grid. And that would not cause a jump cut. That would cause a transmutation, a transformation. And there's endless examples of massive awakenings happening as the result of people doing the hard work to change things inside of themselves, which is extremely magical. And so basically this timeline is lame. I'm jumping to a cooler, more woo timeline. Go for it. This is going to go fast. This is going to go fast. The next couple of years are going to be heavily accelerated. And but I get it. It's not fun right now. Kelly said, I'm really enjoying the added excitement of potential vomiting. Oh, well, good timing. I almost threw up right there. It's a sick thrill of mine. Now, if you were actually sick, I wouldn't be entertained. So thanks for the fun. Yeah, that's nice. This is definitely more fun than Lyme disease, I'll tell you what. All right, more apocalypse talk. Apparently, Lacey is having a live with her breast. I hope you guys went to that instead of here. Chessa, we can't pronounce your name. It's very similar to mine. Fellow Chiron and Aries, is there going to be an upswing? I was thinking about this the other day. I think we're halfway through it. And have you ever tracked some sort of difficult transit for yourself? It's almost like the first half is you just getting your ass kicked by the lesson, and the second half is you perfecting the lessons you've learned. So my 2 cents and what I think is, yes, Yes, I think the upswing's in the next year. But that Aries, we get to that by going, what is Aries magic? How do I apply that to my life? And it's a hard lesson for me because a lot of the, Aries is about the self. And I think a lot of us want to be, we think good is the opposite of that. So Elizabeth said, I cannot seem to shake this weird feeling of being flat out uncomfortable. It's hard to read right now without getting nauseous. So same. I think it was a little bit different in 2019 because we hadn't gotten our asses kicked by anything yet. And so it was easy to be like, ooh, something's coming, without the discomfort. But I think the anticipation is in the grid, and it's in all of us. And there is a really unsettling feeling. So not to be a broken record, but try eliminating that from your life for a day. Really check in with your body when it's the worst and what you're doing. Try different foods, drinking lots of water, giving yourself bath, but like be very patient. You guys, be very patient with yourself through this. This is like labor pains is really what this feels like. What if I'm just like all pregnancy metaphors for the next? Sarah said, you mentioned that we will upload the emotional body to the Akashic records instead of carrying it around with us. Will this happen on an individual or collective wave? Are we ready now? If not, are there things we can do to move towards this? Okay. That's not quite what I said. Our memories. So like, how I see it is, the last age that we live through, sometimes call it masculine. I'm going to do an episode about masculine, feminine energy because it gets tied up in gender, and I'm not talking about gender, but masculine energy meaning mental energy. Okay. So the natural order of things is you experience something, you perceive it in your mind, right? And there's like only so much that can do. And then you feel it. And the feelings is what processes, right? And then once that happens, the experience goes up to the collective memory bank. Because we were living in a world where we were only experiencing things through the ego, not to say you never had feelings, but having an emotional body integrated is different than whatever reactive shit we were doing. But for the most part, we were only mentally perceiving things and then shoving the experiences into our bodies. So because the body can act as a hard drive in a completely ego-driven world, which is to me what the third dimension is the ego. So fourth dimension is the plugged in mental space. The fifth dimension is the emotional body. So as soon as we hit the fifth dimensional download and we all started to come online emotionally, which for most of us started in 2017, all of a sudden all these memories had to come out of our body and get reprocessed through our emotional body that is now integrated, so we can now have thoughts, feelings, and then they're going up to the Akashic records. That's been happening. And for a lot of people that feels like, do I have dementia? Why can't I remember 3 days ago? What I think will eventually happen that hasn't happened for most of us is we get access to them again. So it just feels like it's all so much change. But now your actual daily experiences for a lot of you are have an experience, perceive it, feel it, process it, release it to the Akashic records. Okay. So that's why a lot of our memory stuff is changing. This will probably be my last one. Sorry, we didn't get more of these done. Ed said, advice when starting a business right now, hire a business coach. Make sure your business is aligned with new energies, because I think a lot of these old energies are going to change. Waffles said, yesterday's energy update, you brought up the topic of death doula. It resonated very strongly with me, and I'm wondering if you have more to say about it. Consciously controlling my own fear of death has brought seismic shifts in my own life. 1 week later, and I'm a different person. I don't actually know much about death doulas. I didn't even know they existed, but 2 years ago it started to come in. So I think it can, in a very loose term, a loose manner, mean like helping someone go through a rough time. But I think in a more you can take classes on how to be a death doula, and people literally will hire you to help them through their death process. Sorry, I'm getting harped on in the ether. Can you send me a message on Patreon? No, wait. It was you though, wasn't it? Yeah. Can you send me a message on Patreon about that, please? And then are you being honest about when you want to be alone? Core energy, Ace of Swords, that came up earlier. Remember, it's not saying what you mean, not setting boundaries. Conflict is a Hermit. Are you being honest about how much you want to be alone? Or how much closeness you want to have? This might be their, I don't think it is though. I think it's yours. I think you might not be honest with yourself. Almost like feeling pressure to be more into it than you are. Sorry, I'm seeing if there's anything I shouldn't let go. I mean, this seems pretty emergent. Listen, I wouldn't be surprised if dinosaurs just show up in 2023. That like wouldn't surprise me. Yeah. Yeah. I think there's a chance you could still be into it, but you're definitely not as into it as you feel like you're supposed to be or something. And I think it just comes down to, do you want a relationship? Or are you being honest about, because we can have extreme introvert relationships, but we can only really do that with other introverts usually, or extremely independent extroverts. I'm probably using introvert and extrovert wrong. I know it's about charging, but there are people, and by myself people. I think I have to go. I can smell celery for some reason. I have to resist asking Ramin to make me so many designs. So many designs. All right. Well, this is fun. If you guys like this format, I mean, we can definitely do more of these. They're easier than coordinating guests. Sorry, I didn't get to anything or everything. But let's keep in touch. Lacey's supposed to be available tomorrow at 2. I see. I was really trying to get these out days ahead of time. I can't win. So yeah, should be an episode tomorrow. 5 more weeks. Thank you guys. This was fun. Have a great night. Oops. I like it. I definitely thought that said my Pisces back. And I was like, did you lose your Pisces? All right. Have a great night.